Today we are looking at the SH MonsterArts GAMERA 1996 Sendai Decisive Battle version. This is the brand new re-release of GAMERA 2 from, goodness, almost a decade ago. So let's dive in and see if this brand new release is worth adding into your collection. Looking at the brand new accessory included with this GAMERA, otherwise everything's the same. We have the top of the shell with this battle damage piece done to him by Legion, and this looks pretty cool. It's pretty subtle, to be honest. You can just see that it's been blown through, but it's a nice little detail. Otherwise, it's basically the same piece, although I'll admit it does kind of feel like it's a little bit smaller than the stock piece. Thankfully, adding this onto your GAMERA is pretty easy. You just take the old piece, you just pull lightly on it. It does have a small ball joint, so be careful. You just pull up on it, and then you line up the ball joint with the little hole right there. Pop it in, and boom, bam, boom, it is in. And there you go. There's a battle damage GAMERA fighting Legion, which obviously we'll have later this year in the September to October range here on the channel. So we'll take a revisit once we're there. But that looks pretty good. It's not crazy different. And if I'm being honest, this piece almost seems like it's a little bit smaller. It doesn't sit on GAMERA quite as flushly as the stock piece. And it's kind of gappy as well. Like it looks okay from the front, but like it just doesn't quite sit the same as this one. So there is a little bit of downside to this new piece. I won't deny I do like it. I do like that they included it though. And I mean, more accessories is a win, right? That's what everyone wants with MonsterArts. Taking a closer look at the figure, you know, looking at the paint and the sculpt, this thing is beyond awesome. I think the SH MonsterArts team initially with their original release, and then with this one as well, of course, because it's the same, basically the same exact release, they knocked it out of the park. This GAMERA looks like it could be real, but it also looks like it's a suit as well. They were able to balance it out perfectly with the way that they did the texturing on the legs and the arms and just the body, the whole thing. It does look like a real-life kaiju while also looking like, you know, a man in the suit. And it just looks epic. The head sculpt on this GAMERA is just fantastic. I love the way that this GAMERA 96 looks in the movie, and I think Tamashii absolutely killed it on the look. You guys can see the eyes are a little bit off center. This one's a little bit more out. This one's more ahead, which, yes, looking at it forward, does, you know, look a little goofy, not terrible. But when you're taking photos of it from the side, like that looks amazing and immaculate, and that looks really good as well. It kind of gives them two sides of a personality, which, you know, in and of itself is super cool. The teeth are painted very, very well. Only, I think I have a little gray splatter here and a little bit of a tooth paint bleeding, but otherwise, like, it is top notch. And in the mouth, that looks good. The tongue, super cool. It is interesting to note that the tongue's ball joint is off center. It's not in the center of the mouth. So very, very interesting. All the claws and the tusks are painted very nice. They start dark and then they gradiently get lighter. You know, like they're coming out of skin. You know, there's all the fingernails, the toenails, the elbow spikes. They look very nice. Very, very nice. The shell on the back of GAMERA here looks epic. I love the way that this looks. The detail, the crispness of it, the thickness. They've knocked it out of the park. And I, honestly, this being my first GAMERA MonsterArts, I am very impressed. I now finally know what it was like to buy this figure, you know, many moons ago when the 96 first was announced and released. Here's Heisei GAMERA 96 compared with Heisei Godzilla 91 and Super Mechagodzilla 1993. As you can see, GAMERA's a little bit shorter than Godzilla, which works because I believe GAMERA is like somewhere between 60 and 80 meters in Heisei, where Godzilla is 80 to 100, depending on which Heisei Godzilla it is. Mainly anything after this suit is 100, so this is very, very nice looking. Here's GAMERA with a few modern Godzilla designs with the SH MonsterArts Godzilla -1 and the SH MonsterArts Shin Godzilla orthochromatic version. And he just gets dwarfed, and it looks like it's the underdog fight of the century. Of course, you can't have GAMERA and Godzilla without Ultraman, so here's the Shin Koho Seiho Gaia V2 and the SH Figuarts Ultraman series Alien Baltan Shoot the Invader version for other size comparisons. They still fit pretty well with GAMERA being kind of shorter than everyone. Taking a look at GAMERA's plasma fireball effect piece. I don't think that's the full name, but you know, it's plasma something. It's his breath effect. It's super, super cool. It is completely translucent, and then there's like a hollow section here in the middle. You can kind of see it. So it kind of gives it like a different wave. It gives it kind of some texture, some thickness. It just looks awesome. The detail on there is very nice. It kind of has a Kamehameha effect, honestly, if you cut it off like right there. Like, it kind of looks like a fiery Kamehameha. If we ever get a Pycon, maybe you could use this with Pycon for his Thunder Fist attack or whatever the heck it's called. It is sculpted to fit in 96's mouth, so you can use it with other kaiju, but it is specifically for him. The downside to this release is that instead of including a Tamashii arm, they include this long piece, which, you know, is taller than Gamera himself. So you have to really, well, we'll show it here in a second. You really have to make him look up. It doesn't look quite as good as it could if you just had a regular Tamashii arm. And then, of course, we have the age-old breath attack display that came with the original 94 Godzilla way, way back in 2010, 2011. And it looks awesome. This is actually the first time me owning this piece. So to have this very iconic accessory for a MonsterArts figure finally in my collection is super, super cool and nice. And I gotta be honest, it's really nice. It looks good, translucent. As I said, getting this blast effect into his mouth with this beam isn't really the best. You kind of have to do that, which kind of slightly bends the whole thing, but it is molded to go around his horns, and it does look good once it's in there. But honestly, if this was just like, you know, a little bit shorter, this would look and work much better. So the articulation for Gamera, obviously, just by design, is going to be more limited because this is a limited suit, a limited kaiju. It's a giant, you know, bipedal turtle. So expectations have to be, you know, mannered a little bit. It can still look all the way up for its flying form, and once all the joints in the neck are in use, it can look all the way down. It can turn left and right. It looks good. It can also tilt, so you can kind of look like a dog. It looks a little funny, but it looks really cool. I will say on mine, the neck joints are a little tight, especially like the second and third ones, and then this bottom one also is a little tight. This is on a ball joint, so it, you know, it adjusts a little bit, but it's mainly just kind of there. The shoulders, not very articulated. They can go forward a bit. They can go back a bit. Actually, they can go back quite a bit. The elbow can't really move. It can flatten out, though. It can get 90. You kind of just have to watch this joint. As this one, you can see that this is just a sleeve on the elbow. You kind of have to like adjust it to get the elbow in, and then you can actually clear the gap, so then you can make it look nice. The wrists really can't do much either, admittingly. And then if you thought the arms were limited, the legs are probably the most limited section of this figure. They can go up kind of, you know, they go up a little bit. They can go down even less. You know, they're in the standing position, and that's it. They can't lay any further. They can twist outwards, though. So they can twist. They have double jointed, oop, and I popped my leg off because I moved it too far down. Not a big deal. Just move that joint, pop it back in. We're good. It's just a ball joint. So it does have limits, obviously. The knees don't really move, and the ankles, honestly, like they can flatten out a little bit. It starts to gap, as you can see. And they can't go forward at all. That's probably my biggest criticism with this figure. That's more of the second knee joint, or not, yeah, the knee joint rather than the ankle. The ankles not being able to move forward is actually one of the most frustrating thing. They do twist. They don't even really have a rocker. It's all done at the second ball joint, which on my copy, the second ball joint on mine on the knee is basically stuck. So I lose all of that. So this leg in particular is just kind of stuck in this one pose, which is why you can kind of see my Gamera's a little tilted, because if this leg doesn't match up with this leg, and it won't because of the angles, it basically just kind of sits there. It does have tail articulation as well, but it's basically non-existent. It does look nice though. So very, very, very cool. Future me cutting in. I forgot to show off the beautiful articulation of the tongue here. So let's just use this piece because I don't have any fingernails. Boom, the tongue moves. Very Heisei Gamera. It looks awesome. By the way, while I got your guys' attention, are you guys a big fan of Gamera 96? What are your guys' feelings on this figure? Are you picking it up or are you skipping? Let me know down in the comments. Me and Gamera going back to past me. For the last set of accessories here, it is everything to do with the flying form. So we have the dedicated flying form stand, which we'll take a look at on the base and with Gamera once we put him into flying form. But it is molded to fit very specifically on the figure. Obviously, we've got the thruster holes here for the legs. It's supposed to fit somewhere around there. And as you can kind of already start to see, it's not the most snug. We'll see if that is fixed when the whole figure's put on there. But it is super, super cool, really detailed. In fact, this almost looks like Gamera 99 more than 96. For the side of the fact that for some reason, the flying form arms and the bottom half are a darker plastic, so it doesn't match up. We'll obviously take a little bit closer look at that once they're on the figure. And that is very strange because these are painted really nice. You can see there's highlights on the wings. They look good, but they are just darker. They're a darker skin tone, and it doesn't match. It doesn't match. It's not bad. It's not super far off, but it's definitely a little noticeable. And there's the little fingernails, which are painted, pretty well. They kind of painted a little sloppily, but I mean, like, are you really, are you noticing these too much? Probably not. Let's get Gamera into that flying form, shall we? All right, so getting Gamera 96 into its flying form is very, very simple. First, you just want to take the arm, grab it, pull it off. This one, well, you guys know, it's a little loose. Came out right out of the box, which is fine. It doesn't pop off when articulating. And then this one, it's a little bit tougher. You're going to take the shoulder caps as well with your figures, so keep those all in there. So don't lose those, because you don't actually use those with the flying form. The flying form wings just go in, how do you say, raw. So there he is, like that. That's cursed. That's, wow, that is super, super cursed. All right, and now we got to pull the buttocks end out, which admittingly, I saw a few reviews where it seemed really easy. Mine is really, really snug, as you can see. Like, I'm giving a little bit of torque there, and obviously you got to watch those chest bits, the articulated bits, to make sure it's not bumping into each other. And then you got to adjust them a little bit here so they all match. You got to kind of move it. I'm very anal about this section of the figure, and then you line it all up. Kind of got to push it in from the back and down, and there you go. You have flying form Gamera 96, and it does look really, really nice. As you can see, though, the skin tones are a little different, but you could say, well, he's going at fast speeds, so like, it's just like light and the darkness and whatever. It's not a big deal. And it takes up a lot of space too. It's almost as wide as the whole box. So this is Gamera. Finally, with the dedicated flight stand, you just plug it into the base, and then you line everything up, and there you go. Once again, I saw a few people saying that it seemed pretty loose. Doesn't seem too bad. I mean, I can shake it a little bit, and he's not falling off. He is wiggling though. So I mean, like, if you're in an area that is prone to like earthquakes or seismic movement, maybe not going to be the most stable, but if you own the old release and this release, you can have one in the flying form and one in not. I'd maybe put a few Tamashii arms in the back if you don't mind having a little extra, giblets, just to make sure this figure is safely secured. But this is awesome. A little low. In fact, I think I'd rather wish the long arm was the flight stand and the short one, or a shorter one, was for the plasma grenade, but maybe that's just me. Of course, there is one gimmick with this Gamera, and that is that the chest opens, and I'm going to be honest with you guys right now, it's frustrating. It is frustrating, it is difficult, and it is annoying. So for me, personally, I would rather pull the bottom legs off first and then work with just the top half and the bottom half, but we're going to do this as intended, and we're going to try to do this with it all as one piece. I said it. but you got to pull on these little joints. You got to be, you know, confident that you're not going to break these because this is the intended purpose, but you also got to continuously move certain joints out of the way of the others. These top breastplates are a super big pain in the butt because you got to, like, not only do you got to lift them, but you got to turn them like that. Did you see that? I was pulling out and forward with them to get it over this armor plate so then we can lift them out. And then, of course, you got to move the shoulder joint out of the way a little bit. I'm gonna be real. I don't think this was the best planned part of this figure. Now I know it's cheaper for them to do something like this than to include like a whole secondary body, but like this is a struggle bus. This is a struggle bus. Something I don't like doing. And I've seen like people, you know, use this in animations and stop motions. I don't even want to know the nightmare, like, of getting this open. And you're supposed to be able to open this even wider, okay? This is the max that mine's letting mine go. You're supposed to be able to open this wider because you're supposed to see very clearly into the stomach. As you can see, it's not very... You know, it looks like the blast is barely getting through. And that took 2 minutes to get this opened up. Like, it's kind of a pain in the ass, I'll be honest. But once it's done and once it, you know, it's all out, it does look good. Like, I'm not going to deny that this doesn't look good in there. It's just, it takes way too much hassle. There's way too much fear of me, you know, even with confidence moving these joints. Like, look at how much little clearance that little joint has. Very little. This one, it's even less. You know, it looks good, but like, if I wanted to display my GAMERA like this specifically, I would want all these pieces like up and out of the way. I would rather just have it sculpted. So that's one of the things with this figure. It's like, you have to, you know, accept that this won't look the most perfect because of the limitations of the sculpt, where if you're able to sculpt it in this pose, you're able to, you know, sculpt everything around to make it look wide and out, but it still looks good. And the color of the blast in there looks pretty awesome. It's got some nice paint. It looks cool. Just, yeah, definitely too big of a pain in the ass for me personally to want to do this very, very often. But once it's in there, it does look good. So, is what it is. As a side note, I wanted it to have its own kind of similar section. Also, the bad part about these being all articulated is the fact that these can never fully and truly sit flat with each other, especially like that metal joint up there. It's either popped out or it's popped in like that, which honestly, I hate the way that looks. I would rather have that joint popping out than the others. But this time, after closing up the chest, it just wouldn't move. These two side pieces in this middle one, these three right here, are all unaligned, so they all bump into each other. So you run the risk of bending, warping, and possibly breaking things over time. So you kind of just got to get it where you want it to look as clean as you can get it, and then just understand that this is what it's going to look like, and that's how it goes. Taking a look at the box, here's the cover. It looks epic and awesome. GAMERA's got flames behind it. You got the GAMERA 2 logo and all of your Tamashii legal mumbo jumbo logos. This side of the box is regrettably blank. Normally there is a black and white photo of the figure, and there is not here. Back of the box is obviously colorful with all those beautiful photos of the figure, and it's showing the Ultima Plasma attack being way more open than the figure can do. So there you go. On the left flap, we have the GAMERA figure here with the logo. So if you're a box displayer like myself, this will be the side that I'm using. Here's the top of the box. Very simple. The same design as the front. Finally, here's the bottom of the box with the photo of GAMERA and more legal mumbo jumbo and the UPC if you're buying it in the store. At least in Japan. As for my final thoughts on this GAMERA re-release, I'm very pleased. This is obviously my first GAMERA, so seeing as I waited the almost 10 years to finally own this figure, to say that I'm pleased with my purchase is an understatement. There are some disappointing factors, obviously. The chest not being able to open up or look as flush as I would like it to are definitely, admittingly, it's irritating. But it's something that we've known since the original release, and it's something that I made peace with before I pre-ordered this camera, or was able to pre-order it, thankfully, because Ninden got a few more available. I got mine from Ninden Games for retail plus ship, so I would recommend going there, unless you want to wait for retailers like Amazon and Big Bad Toy Store to pick it up within the next month or two, jarring that there's no weird tariff production line, supply shipment delays. So, it could be a little bit closer to July. You never know with the U.S. distribution. It's nice. If you're a 96 fan, pick it up. If you're a Heisei Gamera fan, pick it up. If you're a MonsterArts fan, as long as you're going in knowing that this figure is more limited in articulation, but it has the accessories and just the shelf presence and display look to warrant the purchase, I would say purchase it. Get it before it's expensive. Can't wait to display this with Legion later this year once we finally purchase Legion. And that's about it. Please like, comment, and watch a few more videos on the channel before deciding to subscribe. And I'll see you guys in the next video.